Hello, my Flawsome family. Welcome to the first episode of the Flawsome Way podcast. My name is Anna Martina. I'm a licensed professional clinical counselor, and I am passionate about helping other people live their best life. One of the ways that I have done that is by embracing this term. Within the last year, it came into my life, but the word is Flawsome, and I'm wearing my Flawsome shirt to help keep me in the spirit of flossomeness today as I record this podcast, which will be going live on March 1st, 2021. And I'm really, really grateful and excited that the moment is here. Thank you to those of you who have been encouraging me and pushing me and reminding me to get on and to get recording. For those of you who are like me, I struggle with imposter syndrome sometimes and questioning like my value, my worth. Nobody wants to hear what I have to say. I'm nobody special, all of those things. And that is one of the areas of my life that I've really been trying to grow and transpire over the past year. This year, for me, just like many of you, is one that is probably going to be in the record books, right? 2020 and 2021 are years that our generations will not forget. For me, there's not one single thing that is the same this year as it was last year at this time. And so last year at this time, I was married. I was living in Minnesota. I was married to a man I had been with for over a decade, and I had a great family. We were stable. We were successful, really in a lot of areas in our life. And the only outside thing that people would recognize that maybe would cause people to question would be the fact that we never have been able to have children, so that could be a stressor. And that was really hard seasons of our lives, because for me growing up, all I ever wanted to be was to be a mom. And I couldn't figure out why God didn't allow that for my life. And as I get older, the maternal clock starts ticking and you feel the pressure. And so that's part of my journey and part of my story. I'll talk about that on a future episode. But I talk about this to say that when I made the decision that I was no longer able or willing to stay in the relationship, it blindsided a lot of people, including my ex-husband. Even though deep down we both knew that we were struggling and we were just going through the motions for a long time. I was in therapy for a few years trying to figure out how I could make it work. The reality was that we were both amazing people that just weren't very well matched. We weren't compatible. We started, the gap between us was getting greater and greater and greater on our morals, our values, and our beliefs, and our goals in life. And we just are two very different people, right? Great people. I still love him. I still care about him. I still want what's best for him. And he is the same for me. We had probably one of the most amicable divorces a person could ask for. We didn't have any children involved. It was clean. It was cut and dry, real easy, right? As far as the technicality side of it. That doesn't mean that it didn't hurt and that we didn't go through the grief and loss process. And one of the quotes that I continue to think about that has gotten me through not just my divorce, but all of the other things that have also transpired since, is a quote from Marilyn Monroe that says, "Sometimes good things fall apart, so better things can fall together." Okay, I'm going to say that one more time because it's really, really important. Sometimes good things fall apart, so better things can fall together. And in the moment when everything is falling apart, it's hard to lose sight of what's coming next. A friend of mine, as I was talking one day about just some major changes I wanted to make, but I was terrified to make them, they reminded me of this image that I had seen on Facebook. And it was this beautiful image of this little girl holding a teddy bear so tight to her chest. And kneeling in front of her was Jesus. And Jesus had an arm out asking for her to give up her teddy bear, and she didn't want to give it up. And in the other hand or arm behind Jesus's back was a giant teddy bear, much bigger than the one that she was clinging to. And it was this message of, trust me, give me your teddy bear, and I will bless you with a much bigger, better teddy bear. But that girl was afraid because she couldn't see, and she didn't want to let go. And that's how I was for a few years. I knew God was changing my heart. I knew I was being led into another direction. But I was scared because I knew that there were so many people who would trade lives with me like that. And I felt selfish, and I felt unworthy of having the life that I really wanted to have, because my whole life I felt like I wasn't worthy of having that kind of a life. Does that make sense? Like, I wasn't as successful as other people. Even though from an early age, I think around the age of 10, 12, I started having reoccurring dreams of what my future would look like. I can tell you exactly what I'm wearing, exactly what the weather looked like. Every detail of these two recurring dreams, I could tell you like they've already happened. But there was an internal dialogue inside of me saying, you're flawed, you're broken. Nobody wants you. You can't have kids. Nobody's ever going to marry you again. And I don't really know that I can't have kids, to be honest. I haven't gotten tested. I just never conceived. But this idea of you're overweight, you're not smart enough, you're broken, you're damaged, you can't do things that other people can, or you've made choices that you wish you never would have made. You've done things that you wish you never would have done, or that if people really knew who I was and the mistakes I've made, not mistakes because I've made choices, right? And the choices that I've made that are not my best self, if people really knew who I was, they would see that I'm an imposter. They would see that I'm broken. So I learned at a young age how to appear better or different than I was. And in doing so, slowly, day after day, I chipped away a little bit more of who God made me to be. And eventually I completely lost myself in trying to be what I thought everyone else wanted me to be. Because you see, at a very early age, I learned that it was safer to give other people the pen and allow them to write my story than it was to write my own story. Because when I had tried writing my own story, people judged it. And I heard messages like, that's not true, that's not what happened, or you're not good enough for the bullying, or just different traumatic things that we all go through. At some point, I believed that other people's version of reality and who I was more accurate than my own. Does that make sense? Like, I didn't have the internal wherewithal to know my own truth. And I started to get my truth based on other people's truths, and other people's truths about me and my truth. So to get to a point where I was able to say, I'm worthy, I'm good enough, I'm not broken, I've got nicks, bruises, scratches, and I'm not broken. And here's this idea of Flawsome, right? Before I found the word Flawsome, I found a quote that told me, I may not be perfect, but parts of me are awesome. And I don't know why, but I was like, yes, finally, something that says I can still be awesome even if I'm not perfect. And that grew, and I went to therapy and I worked on things, and I started to find my own truth. And I started to believe the voice inside of me that is God-given. And that came from a few things. One, changing who I surrounded myself with, doing my own personal work in therapy, and applying what I had been learning and studying and practicing as a mental health professional, and applying that. I recognize, like, my gosh, I treat my clients with so much more grace and love and compassion than I treat myself. Why is it okay for me to love someone and care for them and see good in them, and not for me to offer myself that same grace? Like, I get to be human. I get to be flawed. And switching from this mindset of I'm broken, I'm flawed, to I get to be imperfect and try hard anyway was empowering. I want to say that this journey probably started back in 2018. I had no intent. You know what? I'm not ready to share that part of my life yet. I'm going to on an upcoming podcast, when I believe that God wants me to share those words, I will share with you a journal entry that I believe changed the course of my life. But today's not that day. Today is the day of introducing myself and introducing this idea that you and I and all of us and we get to be human. And in being human and imperfect, we get to be good enough. We are created on purpose and with a purpose, and we are worthy of living a life that is fulfilling. You are worthy. You are so worthy. And I'm literally looking at myself right now when I say that. Sometimes I forget. Sometimes I don't believe the words. In this moment, I'm choosing to remind myself that I am worthy, and that sometimes good things fall apart so better things can fall together. My story is an incredible journey of twists and turns, of love, of loss, a loss of shedding who I have always allowed myself to be. It's a journey of reclaiming my future. I was reminded this year that the only person, the only human being I will ever spend my entire life with is me. And if I don't have a good relationship with that person, it's going to be a long life. Long and lonely life. So I've reprioritized the things that are important to me. It's my relationship with God, my relationship with myself, and my relationship with those around me. I get to choose where I put my energy. I get to choose my own values, my own feelings, my own beliefs, my own political views. Like, I get to have a differing opinion and still be worthy. I get to agree to disagree. I get to set healthy boundaries for myself. I get to make choices and do things that are going to serve a better purpose for me. And I don't have to justify or explain or rationalize why I'm doing what I'm doing. It's taken me a long time to get to that point. And to be honest, there are days where I fall back. And then I remind myself, girl, it's okay. You're Flawsome. You're going to learn from this. You're going to grow from this. You're going to help someone else, or someone's going to help you through this. And tomorrow is a better day. I look back on my life 10 years ago. I don't even know who that person was. And she was leaps and bounds further than the girl that was there 10 years before her. We get to evolve. We get to change our mind. We get to be who we are, who God created us to be. So here we are, episode 1 of the Flawsome Way, where we recognize that we are flawed and awesome all at the same time. Where we get to speak hope, love, light, gratitude, and joy. Where we get to focus on how we can leave this world better than how we stepped into it. Where we get to unlearn behavior patterns that have controlled us most of our life. Where we get to make a decision to write our own story and be the authors of our own lives. Where we get to make mistakes and not sit in shame, but welcome the growth that comes from failure. And instead of the F word, failure being a curse word, embracing it and creating a synonym between failure and future. That just hit me. Thank you, Jesus, for giving me that. Failure, I'm going to fail to my future. Failure is going to launch me into my future. So my hope for you is that you join us, that you be a part of the community that is the Flawsome Way, that you spread love, joy, and gratitude to those around you, that you do random acts of kindness, that you love yourself, you embrace your flaws, you recognize that you're awesome. And together we get to make this world better than how we found it. I'm so excited to see what next week's topic is about. I'm going to pray about it. I'm excited. I prayed before this one. I had no idea what was going to come from it, but I believe in a God that has an ability to create far better than any of us human beings can. And so I'm thankful that He's chosen me to be a vessel today. And I hope that you were able to get some value. If you found this valuable, please share it with your friends. Please subscribe, whether you're listening to it on YouTube or on the podcast station or all of the different avenues. This is new for me. I have no idea where this is all going to go. Sometimes you just have to commit and figure it out, right? So anywhere that podcasts are podcasted, please share. Please leave some feedback and some ratings. I know that is what helps this podcast be viewed by other people. And I do believe that God is calling a big platform here. And so if you know of anyone that could use a little love and support and a space to just embrace who they are, please invite them to be a part of this community. You can also join my group called the Flawsome Way group on Facebook. And remember that the Flawsome Way is TheFlawsomeWeigh. My name is Anna Martina. I am so honored to be here with you as we conclude episode 1. May you be safe. May you be happy and content. May you be strong and healthy. May you be at ease. And may you embrace the flaws that make you completely and utterly awesome. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.